Invincible. Easily one of the best cartoons I've seen in recent years that has me absolutely starving for the new episode every week. Between a fantastic story, characters that have a wide range of depth, jokes that are actually funny, and some intense action that has me genuinely nervous during every single scene, I believe this show does a lot of things right. Its brutal scenes are paired with a much deeper story that will definitely pull on your heartstrings from time to time. However, it is far from perfect. At the time of writing this, season 3 is just about to end, and I had some thoughts about some of the things the show has done this season, particularly regarding the characters and their decisions. It really got to a point where I was just like, surely I can't be seeing what I'm seeing, right? Right? I can't lie to you when I say everyone is on fraud watch because these niggas cannot keep getting away with this. And yes, I promise you, your favorite character is not safe. Or are they? Trust me, we're gonna expose all the characters from the show in due time, and Steven Yeun, don't you worry, I'm finna get on your character's head top the most because while he has some highlights this season, I cannot forgive him because he's not a good superhero, he's not a good fighter, and he's just not in. So before we start our fraud watch for today, I'm gonna throw out a spoiler warning because like the title of the video states, we're gonna be discussing Invincible in today's video, specifically season 3. First on the chopping block is Mr. Motherfucking Grayson himself. I wanna start by saying I like Mark's character, I really do. I feel as though he's super well written, his personality is extremely relatable, and he has really good intentions. However, this nigga needs to get it together. In the very first episode of the season, scratch that, in the very first trailer for the season, we're told that
over the last 90 days, Mark's speed has increased 65%, his endurance 70%, and his strength 138%.
Nigga, where are these feats? Look, okay, I get it, right? He pieced up Multi-Paul and Cecil's little goons, right? But this dude Mark still got whooped on again and again and again. Bro must have thought he was Winter Soldier. Like, no, man, he's out here disarmed and harmless. Jahmar, there's more to a character than what he can do in fights. Okay, cool, right? So let's talk about his decision-making skills because they are poor. All right, so Mark is trapped in the egg cocoon thing because he got banged up by Doc Seismic and his little centipedes, right? Eve over there sleep because, you know, she got banged up too. And don't worry, I see you. We're gonna get to you later though. All the heroes that are trapped in that lair were about to get crushed until Cecil zombie dudes and Hallmark Darkwing arrived to save them. Mark had a problem with this, seeing as though the zombies were created by a dude that tried to kill him and his friends, and Hallmark Darkwing was arrested for killing people in the city. He tries to press Cecil, and Cecil basically tells him like, yo, yes, they're bad guys, but they're helping out for the greater good. Mark, of course, doesn't f with this, and instead of trying to talk and find an alternative route, you know, or maybe considering Cecil might be cooking, he immediately goes on the offense and tries to get violent, and it leads to a whole bang out in which he ends up threatening Cecil and basically saying, I don't work for you anymore. Now, personally for me, during this whole altercation, I'm thinking in my head like, wait, Cecil kind of has a point because when he incapacitated Mark for a second, he made a case that they need to have protections in place of certain situations. For example, what's happening right now. I mean, it makes sense when you consider what happened with him. Not to mention, while yes, these villains should be in prison, they're helping to give back to society. But Mark kind of just says F it and crashes out anyway and burns a very helpful bridge. Now you want to hear something even crazier? This isn't the last time he makes a sorry decision. I'm gonna circle back to both him and Cecil later in the video, but we're gonna expose some of these other frauds first. So Debbie, how you doing, man? I just wanna have a little chat. I can't lie, Debbie's a W mom. She is. She's there for her kids when she needs to be and had to deal with the shock and awe of not only being married to an intergalactic terrorist, but also having to take and raise his son that he had with another woman off-world. She gives great advice to Mark when he needs it most and always puts her children first. However, you're not off the hook, Deborah, because when she finally starts dating again and goes out on a date with one of her coworkers named Paul, she straight up tells this nigga who Invincible is. Now, granted, she gets lucky because, you know, Paul is a good dude and really wants to bond with her and her kids, so it seems like he can keep it a secret, but the fact that she did this without consulting Mark is kind of insane. And he probably calls this out the next time they speak after he realizes that Paul knows. This is the lightest offense in the video by far, but still worth a mention because she almost hoed Mark's secret identity. Fraud. Now, since we're discussing Debbie, let's talk about Oliver. Oliver. He's an energetic and courageous little brother that was born from Nolan's interminglings with a Thraxan woman. Because of his mix of Viltrumite and Thraxan blood, he grows at twice the rate and inhibits the same strength as Mark. With this in mind, Mark and Debbie try their best to raise him into being a valid superhero and using his powers for good. What they don't know is this nigga is secretly a mini Omni-Man. I say this because even after all the teachings and training Mark gives him about fighting and how to properly deal with a villain, he still becomes a crash dummy. So the Mauler twins were trying to launch a nuclear EMP, and of course the B team Guardians of the Globe got folded up as per usual. So Mark had to come in and try and save the day. He almost pulled it off, but unfortunately he got hoed by the device the twins had built that rendered him incapacitated for a little while. Oliver saw his brother fighting on the news and rushes to his aid, which truly and honestly he didn't need to do. They fight the twins together and are whooping on them until one of them launches the rocket. Invincible goes to stop the rocket and involuntarily left the twins to Oliver. Tell me why, after all the teachings Invincible gave him, Oliver knocks these niggas' heads clean off with no remorse or anything. They even tried to surrender and he just wasn't going for it. Again, after this episode, he was mini O in my eyes. And no, I don't mean Oliver, I mean Omni-Man, nigga. Although he is a kid, that was still poor decision making and something I feel is foreshadowing for later. So you're gonna see me do this a few times in this video, but after watching the finale, I will add that Oliver is a really W brother. He's there whenever Mark is in trouble, and although he almost got packed up by Conquest, he still went in there with no fear, and he gets points for that. I definitely like his character way more than I did at the start of the season, but he's not the hook. Fraud! And real quick, let's rewind the footage. Yeah, I don't think I don't see you there too, dumbass. Yeah, our next person in this lineup is this useless character, more specifically, him and his cheating girlfriend. Immortal and Dupli-Kate. They made their grand return in season 3 after Kate's brother Multipole tried to kill Rex to get revenge for what he believed to be her death in the last season. Now, while Kate is a scumbag just by her actions and the way she treats people, Immortal is the true offender here. I read a comment the other day that said Immortal has never won a fight on the show, and I realized, holy shit, they're right. He's lost every single solo fight he's had on the show. And while he's strong and he's able to bang with Omni-Man for a little bit, this nigga has consistently lost every fight he's been in. Like, bro, how is it even possible to be sorry and you've been alive for hundreds of years? Do you see how terrified this nigga is of Oliver? Like, bro, reprimand him for murdering someone. But no, I forgot, he's scary when it comes to Viltrumites after what Omni-Man does him, which honestly, I can't say I blame him. He died to Omni-Man, died to Omni-Man again, died to Mark in an alternate timeline, and then died to an alternate Mark in the current timeline. This nigga is trash. You're supposed to be an immortal warrior and all you do is lose. Fraud. And bro, don't get me started on the little corny happy ending they gave to him and Dupli-Kate where they were like, we want to start a family. No, y'all are not good people. Double frauds. And you know why this has me so hot? Because they hold my boy. Oh my gosh, they held my boy. Rex had one of the best redemption arcs in the entire show because he started as this arrogant, cocky, cheating dude that thought he was on top of the world and didn't give a about anyone or their feelings. However, over the course of the last 3 seasons, after losing loved ones and basically dying, he's redeemed himself and become a whole different person that shows love and empathy for those he cares about, and is the type of person to throw himself in front of a grenade to protect someone. Even from the beginning of the season, he shows love to Invincible and supports his mission and his relationship with Adam Eve once they tell him. Although I'm not the biggest fan of Ray, I was super happy for the relationship they were developing and even expecting that they would have a happy ending. But I forgot what show we were watching. Unfortunately, one of the Invincibles from the Invincible War caught him lacking and the group lacking, and even though he knew it was cooked for him, he still made the sacrifice play and saved everyone. When the alternate Invincible had him hemmed up, he hit this nigga with one of the coldest lines of the series.
You're out of shit to explode.
I've got one thing left.
And what's that?
My entire goddamn skeleton, dickhead.
Now, I'm technically not supposed to talk about these till later, but this is one of the few characters this season who is a non-fraud, aka valid as f. As I was watching that explosion clip, I realized something. Somebody else should have been in the explosion. This nigga. Now, I'm gonna keep this rant to a minimum because this phony has already been dragged through the mud all across YouTube. But I feel like I can make a video on her tomfoolery alone. Truly and honestly, she was barely featured in the season, but she still managed to piss me off with the little screen time she did have. She really didn't do anything besides show off her new boyfriend, and no matter how much the writers try and prove she's a good person, I will never forgive her for getting mad at Mark for not coming to help the soup kitchen because he was busy fighting for his life. I mean, I get that she didn't want to deal with the busyness or wasn't equipped for the superhero lifestyle, but still, that was some whole ass shit that I don't know if I can ever forgive. Fraud. Now, you want to know who's a W girlfriend? Adam Eve, baby. Eve is such a great character because she actually really cares about people and wants to use her powers to help. She struggles with her powers and identity sometimes, but she still tries to better herself every day. But you thought she was off the hook? Oh, no. Look, I love Eve, but she has been sorry this season. She really might be hanging around Mark too much because she got pieced up again and again this season, and it hurts me so much, man, because if you watch the Adam Eve special, she was boxing these niggas and putting them in the dirt. Granted, I'll give her some grace in this fight because she was fighting Viltrumites, but you're telling me that that's who you're going against and you pick to make a pink shield over and over again? You can make anything, Eve, please! Hola, me again. So I'm coming back to edit this after watching the final episode, and I will say Eve was fighting her mother hard out against Conquest. Nigga, I was so proud. Like, I was actually getting hype in my room, and in honor of that, I'm gonna rescind my fraud and grant her a non-fraud. You passed this time, Eve, but if I see any more pink shields in the next season, I will make a video on you. Powerplex is next to be exposed. Now, I will admit, Powerplex's backstory is super tragic. He lost his sister and niece to Invincible's fight with Omni-Man in Chicago, and I get it. You know, he wants revenge, right? But the way he went about that was just like not it for me. Okay, like for one, Invincible didn't kill those people. His father did. He was actively trying to protect people while getting his ass whooped by Omni-Man. And he puts his life on the line trying to help save people in the world every single day. On top of this delusion, Powerplex has a nutcase for a wife, or I guess had, because his dumbass fried them. I'm not kidding, he turned them into ashes. Nigga thought he was Thanos. So now he places wrongful blame on Invincible for his sister and his wife and his kid. He gets a slight, and I mean the slightest, bit of grace, only because he's voiced by the GOAT himself, Aaron Paul. Breaking Bad video coming soon, by the way. Even with this great casting though, his character is still pretty annoying and generally just an idiot. Fraud. Marcus, how you doing, pal? I forgot about you, huh? So you remember how I said he makes more sorry decisions? Yeah, so I briefly mentioned it earlier, but during the Invincible Invasion episode, Eve gets her leg broke by Omni-Mark and her back beaten. Now she's comatose in the hospital and Mark refuses to leave her side. This sounds heroic in theory, but when you consider the fact that the planet is being invaded by variations of him, which pretty much only he can fight, it becomes incredibly frustrating that he refuses to leave her side. On top of that, his mom and brother are still out there. His mom is terrified and in hiding, and Oliver is putting belt to ass trying to save people. Eve is in a government facility, bro, and Cecil's facility at that. She's good, I promise. But nope, he still doesn't go out until they finally locate Engstrom. This decision is so sorry that I had to look at one of those invisible cameras and be like, is this nigga serious? Again, on top of the sorry decision making, this nigga was getting his ass whooped all season. I'll give credit where credit's due. There are definitely moments where you can tell he's gotten a lot stronger, like when he fought the zombies, when he fought Engstrom, and even when he fought the other Invincibles. But I needed it to match the expectation and hype that was set by the first episode. All right, so Jahmar from the future again. This nigga Mark was fighting his heart out on the last episode. He went crazy against Conquest and actually managed to turn this nigga into the Arby's Meat Mountain sandwich. Still doesn't make up for the sorriness he displayed this season. He's still a fraud, just way less of a fraud. Again, Mark Grayson was fighting. Like, he actually had me standing up and cheering for this nigga during that fight. Good shit, Mark. All right. So I briefly mentioned this earlier, but I do want to give credit where credit is due. And this section is going to be for me to highlight the non-frauds of season 3, aka characters that I feel really did their thing in one way or another. Circling back to Cecil, when he tried to pitch to Mark that he needed a way to defend from Viltrumites, Mark wasn't hearing him, and lo and behold, the Earth gets attacked by Viltrumites not once, but twice. You know, people may think he's in the wrong, but Cecil has a good mantra. You can be the good guy, or you can be the guy who saves the world. You can't be both. And immediately when he said this, I was like, damn, he has a point. It's almost impossible to maintain this mantle of heroic and morally good while also keeping everyone safe, because with the threats that the show be throwing at them, some of these niggas have to get knocked off. And seeing this flashback was a vital point to understand how his character came to think this way. Although his methods might be a bit harsh or invasive at times, I believe he truly does care for Mark and the people in the world, and regardless of what others may think, he will put his life on the line to protect them. I empathize with him because he's really just trying his best while constantly being painted as the bad guy. And you know, what's so ironic is that at the last episode, in the very last main scene, Mark says this to Oliver.
You were right. So if anyone else ever puts my family or anyone I love at risk, I won't hesitate to kill them.
This is crazy to hear. Like, yes, finally, but you still berated Cecil and Oliver for essentially having the same ideology. I don't know. I think Cecil is just really a W character and truly a non-fraud. Speaking of Cecil, his right-hand man, Donald, is such a goat. It's crazy, man. Donald might not have done much, particularly in this season, but his revelation last season about how many times he's died and the fact that he's mostly artificial now was really inspiring because he took it in stride. He's always just been a reliable source of support for the cast, and he did something in the Invincible War that really just made me respect the out of him.
Sir, with this body, I can do more out there than in here.
You're just gonna get yourself killed, Donald.
That's what I do, sir.
Like, bro, this is a real nigga. Let's go, Donald. Non-fraud. Next is my boy, Alan the Alien. This dude, Alan, has always been a chill-ass character that isn't afraid to box when he needs to, which makes me respect him because while he might be nice, he don't take no shit, you know? Even though he got clapped by those Viltrumites last season, bro came back stronger and going out of his way to stop the Viltrum Empire. On top of the side quest, he managed to run into Nolan and actually stayed with him until he was ready to fight for himself again. He also freed Battle Beast, which I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing, but I guess we'll see. Alan is overall just an awesome character and a non-fraud. Quick sidestep to his counterpart this season, Omni-Man. Nah, I can't lie, I have mixed feelings about Omni-Man because obviously he massacred an entire city and betrayed everyone, but the fact that he realized his mistake and was willing to atone for it by being killed by his own people was kind of a heroic act in itself. I f with the character heavy this season because you can tell he's genuinely apologetic for what he did, and although begrudgingly, he accepts Alan as a friend and actually gets fired up when Alan is getting pieced up. This might piss some people off, but nigga, who cares? Non-fraud. I'm aware I've done a lot of nitpicking this video, but it's mostly just me being a dickhead for fun. I actually thoroughly enjoyed season 3 a lot, and would dare to say it's neck and neck with season 1 as being the best for me. I feel as though a lot of characters made some extremely questionable decisions, and some fights just didn't sit right with me, but regardless of that, this season gave us some of the best character development, fights, and overall entertainment we've seen from the show thus far. Besides maybe 1 or 2 episodes that were kind of fillered up, every episode had me feel like it was well worth the watch, and the cliffhangers, oh god, the cliffhangers. They did what cliffhangers were supposed to do because boy, I was mad as every time I finished an episode and realized I had to wait a week. We've got some of the best moments this season between Oliver growing up, the Ray and Rex development, rest in peace my boy, oh my god, the Mark and Eve relationship, Monster Girl and Rudy, Omni-Man and Alan, shit, even Titan subplot was intriguing. Oh, and let's not forget the Invincible War and the Conquest fights. This nigga Angstrom was on timing, and the fact that he's not dead pisses me off. Seeing the multiple Mark variants was hype as and crazy when you realize this is one of the few timelines where Mark isn't evil. The shot where they were all hovering over the destroyed cities was cold as and one of the hardest shots of the entire show. And then the fact that right after the war, this nigga Conquest shows up and gives Mark the train part 2, absolute cinema. Well, not for the people that got clapped, but yeah, y'all get the point. Conquest was actually terrifying, and I was holding my breath the entire episode because I didn't know who he would kill or hurt. You know this show loves to knock people off at the most random times, so I knew anything was possible. In the end, I'm glad Mark was able to finally show some real power and put this nigga in the dirt. The fact that he killed him with a headbutt is kind of tough, I can't lie to y'all. On top of all this, the end of the finale showed that there are tons of new villains coming from Mark, and if I'm being honest, I feel as though the fact that Mark said he's done holding back means that some of these niggas are not surviving the next season, and I can't wait to see it. Again, this season was fantastic, but I had to get on some of these niggas' heads because we can't just let them slide scot-free thinking shit was sweet. I actually really love this show and highly recommend it to people all the time because it's a really tough but good watch. Unfortunately, the season's over and now we gotta wait again for more peak. God! I don't know exactly how long this video is gonna end up being, but I wrote a lot more down than I normally do, but I decided to do that for 2 reasons. One was I had a lot to say, and 2 was someone really close to me actually told me they wish my videos were longer and encouraged it. So I figured let's give it a try. I also want to shout out to every single person that watches these because y'all went crazy on the last video. And on top of that, I'm monetized now. Hey, we did it, and I'm forever grateful to every single one of you. My drive for making these has always been to give you some entertaining content while maybe occasionally getting a laugh or 2 out of you, and the fact that I can get paid for doing that now is just a cherry on top. I really love each and every one of you, and if you're new around here, consider subscribing as it goes a long way to help the channel out and you get to watch bangers like these. It's a win-win. Hello? Also, if you enjoyed the video, consider dropping a like as it lets me know you guys like the content. That's all I got for today, so I hope y'all have a great rest of your day, and until next time, peace.
She want control or delete. You I see in a sheet, I'm like, do you like me? She like, oh yeah, of course, why she all on my steak, but she do not dry, she want me to show feet. I'm like, whoa, that's a thought. No strings attached, but you want shit from me.